All right, so today I wanted to talk about an interesting article I seen from True North saying China's pollution surpasses combined emissions of developed world. So, um, this is very important. Like this is, I mean, I brought up this up a lot, but there's still a lot of people that don't know this, and there's a lot of people that think that this is okay, and there's a lot of people that, yeah, you're probably aware of it, but, wouldn't hurt to talk a little bit more about it because, again, this is the justification to destroy our oil and gas sector. This is the justification to have the crippling carbon tax, et cetera, right? So, um, the thing to bring up here is, I mean, there's a lot of things, is that eh, the most obvious one is that, again, if we really care about climate change, why are our sights not set on China and to a lesser degree India, but mainly China? Why? Now, again, they'll have a lot of arguments against that. And one thing they bring up is, oh, well, China is building renewable, which is true, but they're also building more coal and oil and gas related stuff. So, as a whole, China's not going towards renewables, right? They're not. In fact, the what is it? The latest thing, they don't place like any restrictions on China basically whatsoever. Um, and this is the other thing too. People that think that these climate agreements are doing anything. Again, there's been these climate agreements going back decades, like at least 20 years. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything. So why is that still our main goal? Now, the reality when it comes to climate change is that, just briefly going into it, the reality behind climate change is the real goal is a push towards socialism, or, a better way, maybe fascism, right? And that the goal is to get a bigger and bigger government and, allow the big corporations to do pretty much whatever they want, right? That is the goal. The goal is not caring about the climate. The reality behind the climate change movement is that it is a disguise to allow the government to get things done that they otherwise never would have been able to get done, right? I mean, you look at the carbon tax again. Number one, no data that shows that CO2 is harming the environment, right? There's no data on that. Basic facts being, um, there's been times throughout history to where CO2 has been much, much, much higher than it is right now. Things are still perfectly fine. Not to mention too, when you increase CO2, um, it increases plant growth, right? And because of that, it basically neutralizes a lot of the increase, right? And that when you reduce CO2, well, you decrease plant growth, right? And that, again, CO2 increases crop yields, right? So again, for all the farmers out there, well, I don't think I have to explain to them why they should hate the carbon tax and all this stuff, but they're well aware of it, right? And that, number one, the carbon tax kills them because farmers use a lot of gas and a lot of energy. And number two, increased CO2 increases crop yields, right? So that should go without saying to why farmers are against this garbage. But um, yeah, I mean, when it comes to this stuff too, none of it makes any sense. So again, the goal behind this is that, again, well, what is the goal of this stuff? It's to increase taxes, it's to increase regulations, right? The government scaremongers and fearmongers about CO2 and all this stuff, knowing that if they do it enough, they can get more regulations and more taxes passed. It's not that complicated, right? So the reality behind the whole climate change movement is that it's just a grift to push for usually socialism, right? That it's just a grift, right? I mean, I seen an interview the other day with Greta Thunberg, and the guy asked her, well, you think that what is it? The whole of the world's going to end soon if we don't address climate change. And he said, well, what data were you going off on that? And she didn't have anything. She didn't have anything, right? So again, it's all a grift. It's all a grift, right? I mean, the politicians are laughing all the way to the bank because it really doesn't hurt them. The elites, it really doesn't hurt them. I mean, Elon Musk has really shown himself to be kind of a piece of garbage lately, well, for obvious reasons. But he He said that, oh yeah, I support a carbon tax. Well, again, like, number one, obviously it's not going to affect him. Number two, it's a great way to virtue signal, right? So again, like, a carbon tax doesn't accomplish what they think it's going to accomplish. I mean, BC's had a carbon tax for over a decade. It's had no effect. Like, if over a decade of data proving something to be false isn't enough, then what is? Now, the government solution is, oh, we're just going to keep increasing it. Okay, well, basically what they're saying is that we're just going to keep screwing over the middle class and the poor until it has an effect, which eventually it would, right? Eventually it would. But the problem is that they're going to create so much poverty. And again, they're so worried about the wealth gap, right? They're worried about the wealth gap, but they're pushing a carbon tax that basically just hurts the poor and the middle class. Like, again, like the whole point, I guess, would be, what more data do we need for people who aren't already on board to admit that this stuff's a grift? It's all BS. They don't care about the environment. Like, and again, dude, this is the fundamental thing too, is that they don't care about the environment. If they did, they wouldn't care about Canada. They wouldn't. And people say, "Oh, we got to be an example for the rest." No. How has that worked out? Right? China's still steadily increasing emissions. India's still steadily increasing emissions. Again, beat Canada. We've pushed further and further out off the deep end. Has it done anything? No, it hasn't done anything. So again, they clearly don't care. So this whole be an example for the rest of the world, it's not working. And again, since when is it going to be, oh, we're going to cripple our economy in hopes that we reduce CO2 by 1%? How does that make any sense? Like, how does it make any sense? Right? And I mean, in Canada, we have no legitimate opposition to this stuff, especially at a federal level. Like, at a federal level, we have, I mean, you have the PPC, I guess, but they don't hold any seats right now. The conservative solution is, oh, we're not going to impose a carbon tax, but we're going to impose a carbon tax and just call it something different, basically. So again, like, I mean, the solutions to this stuff is very clear. Like, it's very clear. Like, I mean, the problem is that you're never going to convince China to do any of this stuff, but the solution would be put pressure on China and stop destroying our economy for no reason. Like, I haven't seen data that shows that Canada has any effect on the world's emissions, like, at all. Like, again, like, people say, oh, we're X%, but again, what they don't realize is that, um, look at the amount of trees and plants we have. Like, we have an insane amount of trees. So Canada, again, but this whole, oh, we got to get to carbon neutral, right? But we probably already are. I haven't seen definitive data on that, but we probably already are, right? So again, what is the goal? The goal is we're going to suffer because of actions of other people who could care less about us. Like, that's just a classic abusive relationship, right? Just like China is the abuser and we're the abused. And most people's solution is just, oh, well, it must be we're not doing enough. Like, come on. None of this makes any sense. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring that up briefly because I think it's pretty important. But, and not to mention, too, it's very telling, too. Like, for anyone who's saying, oh, we got to do all this stuff because of climate change, well, again, if China doesn't change, there's nothing we're going to do that's going to change the world's emissions. Like, nothing. Even the states. The states is still a very low percentage of the world's emissions, let alone Canada. So, uh, anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms. Uh, if you want to donate, I would very much appreciate that. And like I say too, if you're watching on YouTube too, you're also missing half my content. So make sure you check me out on a Rumble and BitChute as well. So anyway, like I say, check out those links and stay tuned for more.